Hey, welcome back, guys. Roby1 here, and today we review Thor: The Dark World. Okay, so once again, we're just going to jump right into it. Also, once again, for the second movie review, I am joined by another former guest, a former guest host of mine. Going back to the frame-by-frame days, a guest a few times. I would like to welcome back Mr. Evan Bush.
What's up, everybody? Good to be back.
It's good to have you back. Not only a film fan and a film nerd like me and everyone listening, but also kind of the Marvel aficionado, correct?
Kind of the all things Marvel right now.
Well, all things Marvel and all things comics.
Exactly. Or at least to my best of my knowledge.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, you are a bigger DC guy than Marvel, or you just know DC
Starting
as well?
to become a bigger DC guy. Since the New 52, becoming a bigger DC guy. But it make mine Marvel always.
That's cool. I mean, most people tend to feel that way. I've always appreciated that you know your DC stuff as much as the Marvel stuff, because the Marvel thing is just sort of the regular thing that everyone goes to now because it is kind of better, I think. But DC has its own sort of worthwhile. So
yeah.
I'm glad that you're that way. So anyway, we're here to talk about Thor: The Dark World, which you and I and a big group of friends all went to see just last night at the premiere.
The entire row of us to ourselves.
We had at least 20 people. It was ridiculous. We mob up there pretty deep. So.
Was that bigger than the Avengers for us as a group?
I think it was. I was actually discussing this with our other friend, Sarah, as her and I were going home. And I feel like the biggest group we ever had amongst our group of friends, believe it or not, by crazy coincidence, was the first Thor.
Was it really?
I feel like I remember we mobbed in there 30 deep.
Yeah, and I had the Thor costume, and I got to lift the whole theater.
Yes, you did. Yeah, it was
best moment of my life.
Evan, for those of you listening, is I think 9 feet tall. He's a gigantic man. No, I think 6'5" or something. So.
6'6".
6'6". Okay, so very tall man, and has this amazing Thor costume. It's crazy what this guy pulls off. It's really cool. And when we were waiting in line for the first Thor, they had a giant 10-foot cardboard Mjolnir. And he picked it up, and it was a great Facebook photo op moment.
The best part about that was the girls that couldn't lift it. It's almost too fitting.
It really was. You're like, out of the way, puny mortals.
Exactly.
It was fantastic. So anyway, like I said, we saw Thor last night.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of feelings going on about that. It's a big deal. It's the second film of Phase 2 for the Marvel Universe, which is going
off to a good start so far.
It is off to a good start. Yeah, Iron Man 3 was the first, and I even just heard today it was confirmed that Iron Man 3 is still the most successful film this year, worldwide amongst all films. And here comes Thor 2, which is the next film in the series before Avengers 2. So ultimately, we'll just jump right into it. Basic thoughts. What did you think?
I thought it was I liked that there was, you didn't really have to see the first Thor. I brought my girlfriend who's trying to keep up with it, and she didn't have to constantly well, who's that? Or why did this
Had she
happen?
not seen the first?
She's seen all of them.
I thought so.
Every last one of them. But there was, for people like her who aren't as in depth
Deeply
with
into it, yeah.
She didn't have to ask questions. I liked the acting. I still don't like Natalie Portman, but that's not going to change. She's hot, but I just don't like Jane Foster.
It's too bad because, hotness counts only so far.
Does it make me a bad person? I was rooting for her character to die.
Not necessarily. Oh, speaking of, let's go ahead and let everyone know there will be spoilers.
Okay.
I think it's the only way for us to talk about this.
If you haven't seen it, leave.
Yeah.
If you have, please stay.
Yeah. Even if you haven't seen it, you should still listen.
You should
listen, but just spoilers.
Don't get mad.
So anyway, about that, I need to ask. You mentioned you don't like Jane. So is it Jane, the character you don't like? Is it Natalie Portman portraying Jane?
I like Natalie Portman as an actress. I don't like the character Jane Foster. For someone who's supposed to be an astrophysicist and very much smarter than her age, she comes off as this cheerleader with a degree. Very...
it's counterproductive, I think, to what her character's supposed to accomplish.
Exactly. I don't expect her to be this straight-laced, no sense of humor, but... The opening scene with her on a date with what is it?
I think Richard or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Or Clint, some random guy.
That was supposed to be funny, and it left me kind of sitting there going, "Okay, we get it. Please move on. Let's continue this." And
which they were using to set up, and I thought in this one respect it was successful because it was being used to set up, the fact that Thor and everything that had happened in the first film really impacted her life. Thor, of course, is a person and a love interest, obviously impacted her life, and how has she been coping these last 2 years and trying to get out on a date? And I don't know, I thought it was actually kind of funny, but I can see how maybe it didn't work as much for you.
Like I said, I don't hate the character. There needs to be a love interest there, but it was grating on me at best. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I enjoyed all of the acting. I love Dr. Selvig.
Yeah.
Since post-Avengers, spoiler, since the Avengers has gone kind of cuckoo.
Yeah.
The whole intro of him at Stonehenge running around naked was hilarious.
It was.
Loved it.
I think that was neat is the whole movie was probably one of, if not the funniest of all the Marvel movies so far. I mean, outright. They weren't even trying to hide it. They really tried to be kind of goofy and slapstick. Do you think that worked, or what do you think?
I think it did, and it was a big success with the first Thor. I still like when he gets hit by the car twice.
Yeah.
In the first one. In this one, the fish out of water shtick of hanging the hammer camera on the coat rack.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. It was hilarious.
That was very
and there
neat.
was never a point where it was like the Fantastic Four movies where it was inappropriate, funny when it shouldn't have been. It was hilarious when it was supposed to be, and it hit the mark as far as humor in my opinion.
I'll agree because there's definitely a more serious story going on in this one compared to even the first one. And I agree that whenever it was funny, it was because it needed to be, and it never took away from the serious tone when it had to be serious.
Right, I
Definitely.
agree.
So,
And I appreciate that there was not a love triangle. Right off the bat, I'll say that between Sif and Jane Foster's character. I know there is with like Enchantress and Sif in the comics, but I think it would have convoluted the movie entirely to have that. To hint at it and stuff where she was staring daggers at him in the hallway. I like that. Keep it kind of simple.
I agree that the few hints are pretty cool. And for me, I understand the Marvel Universe, but again, nowhere near to the depth that you do. So I didn't even know that was a potential thing. And I really liked the first scene where Odin was the one who hinted, don't worry about this mortal. This mortal girl shouldn't mean anything to you. You should pay attention to what's right in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
And then that's when he gives, a nod to Sif, who's like in battle, like practicing, and she looks at him. And for me, I was like, oh, I never really saw that coming. So apparently that's part of the story within the comics. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And, life is tough to be Thor. You have to pick either Jamie Alexander or Natalie Portman.
Oh, man, what a rough life. The rough life of a god.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what did you think of Loki? Obviously has a very big part in this film. How did you think he was handled?
I thought he was the best part of the movie by far.
I think there's almost no doubt. I can't agree with you more. He saved the movie, you could almost say.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's been seen on off camera how much Hiddleston, depending on your pronunciation.
I think, yeah.
All right, Hiddleston, how much he enjoys and revels in being Loki. He's not just, like Jennifer Garner as Elektra, where it's just kind of, here's my check. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Not saying I love Jennifer Garner, but we'll move on from that.
I'm not on the same page, but that's okay.
You can see when he goes to Comic-Con to do the Thor premiere, and he dressed as Loki and did the whole Avengers line, and in interviews he carries action figures with him of Loki. He loves the role. He dives right in, and it's 100% the best part of the movie.
Yeah, which is great because it shows that he actually cares and appreciates that he's probably a part of this. I think most of these actors should feel that way, and they probably do. But I think it's interesting you say that because when it comes to his presence on screen as well, it definitely feels that way.
Oh, there's a sense of dread, even though he's not intimidating physically. But when the camera zooms up to his prison cell, you can't help but feel that kind of knowing that he's in there, and just not if, but when is he going to get out of there?
I feel like it was the scenes with him. Probably the reason I liked it the most is it always grounded the film whenever it was becoming this big comic book kind of adventure, and it was even like the goofy slapstick stuff like we said. All of a sudden, here comes a scene with Loki, which grounds the film. It roots it in the whole Thor and Loki as brothers and now enemies, and could they work together? Which, of course, does end up happening. And the trailers basically let you know that, too. And it also kind of reminds you of all the events happening, from what happened with the Avengers.
Yep.
And how that impacts this film and this story, and how it's obviously going to impact down the road. So I thought...
And I think the defining line between the two of them is when they're on their way to the dark world. And Thor grabs Loki and says, "Mother wouldn't have wanted us to fight."
Oh, it was awesome.
And he looks and he kind of has this look of, well, so, and says, well, she would have expected it.
Yeah.
I think that's the definitive line between the two.
For their relationship, yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is absolutely key. So I'm curious, I want to ask you how the Dark World actually fits into the grand. Is that a part of the comic book universe for Thor?
Yeah.
Because I'd never heard of it until this film.
They've left out a few. They used, if I can remember correctly, 4 of the 9 realms, even in brief moments.
In this film, yeah.
Yeah.
We saw glimpses of them, yeah.
They left out Hell, which is where, is Hell.
Yeah, kind of sucks a lot.
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But the 9 realms were done right. They're never really delved into in the comics.
Okay.
They're there. It's almost like a space station in the Marvel world. It's like, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There's never really a backstory of any of them except for Asgard, Midgard, and Hell.
Yeah.
So I think they portrayed those right. They did Loki's homeworld, basically the Frost world from the first movie, was done perfectly.
Oh,
the
that was
Frost
amazing.
Giants were done I thought were awesome looking.
Yeah.
So they did the 9 realms right, but they only did about 4, if I can remember.
So my other question would be, it's weird because I just couldn't tell. I also basically liked the movie, but despite that, there are a few problems that I saw with it here and there. It almost seemed like the dark world didn't seem to matter, unless there was something I was missing, because of course there's the ether, which is like the ultimate power that Malekith, I don't know which it is, he, as the villain, is trying to get back, and that's what's in Jane Foster. And I couldn't really tell how much the dark world was imperative to the story. Or did that seem like it was just something that was just sort of existing?
It did seem weird that it was put in the title of the movie, because you were thinking it would be more of a, and especially with the trailer, it seems like they fight there most of the movie and then go to Earth.
Yeah.
And it just came
There
across...
were some scenes in the movie. There was a lot of scenes in the movie there, I guess.
Oh,
near
yeah.
the end,
Oh, yeah. But it was definitely centered on Asgard, Midgard, and Dark World.
Yeah, and Earth.
Yeah. Midgard.
Oh, yeah, Midgard. Thank you. Yes.
And then, to me, the movie, and it's not a knock on the movie, but it did seem kind of like this is like the Nine Realms trash dumpster.
Yeah.
It's this. It looks
like
just
this huge wasteland. It was.
Yeah. It looked like some sort of Instagram version of Israel. It was just dirt, sand, and a few parts scattered everywhere.
Yeah, it was definitely weird. I mean, it was handled well enough, I think. I just thought that was kind of strange. Something you and I were also talking about before we started recording is the villain.
Yeah.
Malekith. Again, I don't know if Malekith. Okay, with the TH. Yep. Malekith. Okay. And I think we both were kind of agreeing that he wasn't maybe handled the best.
No.
Yeah.
He's probably his third tier villain on there as far as the comics are concerned. It's always Loki, and then there's Destroyer, and then which is a totally different character in the comics. But
then he was in the first film, right?
Yeah. But they still did a great job with that. With
pretty
Malekith,
intimidating.
I felt we never got a sense of intimidation. You knew he was the bad guy. He came on screen, you thought, oh crap, here comes Malekith.
Yeah.
But there's never a sense of dread where all the
like
other
we never
villains,
really learned why he cared to be evil.
Yeah,
I feel
there was no backstory like Loki. There was no. It was pretty much given to you on a platter in the intro.
Yeah,
this is Malekith. He's a douche. He's trying to destroy us all. Screw that guy.
In 2 hours, you'll see a big fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Eccleston as Malekith. And the thing that's kind of funny is he's covered in so much prosthetics you don't really recognize him.
It's true.
And then they burn him.
Yeah.
They burn him, so he has this like Two-Face thing going on.
He's never been as little like himself than he has been in this movie. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I agree, because he's a great actor. I do normally really enjoy him. And I thought that was one of the few things that wasn't, I don't know, overall wasn't delivered well. There was the other character of, keep wanting to say Curse, but I know that wasn't.
That's right.
It was Curse.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Maybe I was
Curse
thinking,
with a K.
Curse with a K.
Yep.
So obviously, as you had explained to us last night, that is something a lot of comic book fans would probably know. He was a character. The way he was handled, introduced in the film, I, as somebody who didn't know him, kind of thought that they were giving a nod, like, here's this guy you, like a lot of you may recognize from the comics, and I hadn't heard of him. And man, one of the best fights in the movie was definitely between Thor and him.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
it was blowing my mind because Thor was so completely helpless. And that was like really hard to watch, especially because it wasn't the final battle of the movie,
right?
Which I almost thought it was going to, but we need to get back to that. Hopefully we can bring it back to that.
Absolutely.
But like, what is the deal with Curse? I mean, why is he that powerful?
Curse is supposed to be in the comics the Ether's bodyguard, I guess. He's kind of a bigger, stronger than Destroyer. And personally, I thought one of the best looking villains other than the mainstream ones.
Yeah, you were saying that. You really said you liked the way he turned out.
Yeah,
visually.
he had like a predator Venom with
our other friend mentioned it looked like the Fusra, the Skyrim mask.
It looked like
Fusra,
looked like a Skyrim
and
Doomsday from Superman.
Yeah, okay.
It really had like all the bones on the outside, big hulking thing that doesn't talk.
Is he created in the comics the same way he was in the film?
He's been reintroduced so many times, I'm not exactly sure. It's kind of like the Flash of DC. There's no like set origin. Like he came from here. He is this. It's constantly being redone.
When he's reintroduced, how is he reintroduced, though?
The last one I saw...
Is it the same character, or is it like a different entity that has the same name?
It seems to be more of a scheming, thinking villain on his own in the Thor comics. At least the last time I looked it up. I didn't know Curse was in it, so I didn't really do any research to see if it was on the T with the comics.
Yeah, I get it.
But I think they did a good job of Curse. And like you were saying, the Eccleston's character was so
the battle was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, but the main battle with Curse and Thor, I thought outshadowed the final battle with Malekith and Thor.
I could almost agree. What was cool about the final battle with Malekith and Thor was how they were traveling the nine rounds.
I love that.
It became bigger than just like a fist fight between the two of them, as much as that would have been like really exciting.
Yeah.
And there definitely was some of that. It was neat how because there was the convergence which was happening, which is all the nine realms coming into line. And that started to happen from Earth, Midgard.
Yep.
And that's when, of course, the showdown happens on Earth. And then they start traveling through all the 9 realms, kind of fighting. That was neat. And little elements were brought between them, which I thought was kind of cool. Like cars were getting thrown into the dark world because they were coming from Earth to there. And then, of course, the Bildschneip from the Frost Giant planet made it to Earth, which I thought was super cool.
That was fantastic.
One of the funniest moments. So.
The 2 parts of the fight I thought was great. I mean, the whole fight was awesome, but the parts that stood out for me
except for the ending. But
the ending was a little anticlimactic.
It was a soft finish for Malekith, I think.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I really thought so.
But what was it you liked? What did you say the 2 things you liked?
The scene where they're battling and they're falling and they kind of hit the window of this big fancy restaurant and they start sliding down, literally doing the down, and they both have that look at the diners of like, we don't know what the hell's going on. Why is this happening?
It was
and then
amazing.
back to the fight. And then the other is because they kept going between the 9 realms. When he summoned Mjolnir, it kept getting confused as to where to go.
How precious was that?
That was fantastic.
So
it was
badass.
like watching a puppy try and figure out where to go.
It was
in the
amazing.
house.
And it showed like the true epic scale of what was happening and what's at stake in the Thor films. And when it comes to all the 9 realms just existing, how when they go from, Midgard to one of the other realms and Mjolnir is on Earth and then all of a sudden it shoots into space as if it's going to travel all the way from space to wherever the hell that realm actually is. It's just going to keep on going until it gets there.
Yeah.
Until
Meow
he makes
was
it back
lost.
to... Yeah, meow meow. Yeah. One of the best lines for sure was the
yeah.
meow meow line of I definitely think that the battle with Malekith ended kind of softly. It was sort of just a weak, throwing those little electronic things in and it was destroying him. And it just happened so quick. I was like, oh, he didn't really seem like that much of a threat.
And spoilers, still there. So the whole thing with when the ship comes down, I couldn't help but think, well, you've been getting hit with hammers and cars and lightning bolts, and a ship falling on you killed you?
Yeah.
Or did it? They never did confirm. But
it's true. Would it make sense? We're gonna have to get to this in a moment, but would it make sense for him to even come back or have a presence after this film?
Not particularly.
I
to be
wouldn't
honest
think
with
so.
you, I think it would be kind of one of those, oh, you again, kind of things. Whereas
We don't
Loki
really
being
care.
reused was, perfect.
Oh, Loki matters for many different
absolutely.
reasons. Many different reasons. Yeah.
No, I think that's the last of Malekith, and good screen presence, but one of the more forgettable Marvel universe or movie universe villains.
It's weird. This film, I think, fits into the canon of everything going on oddly, because I feel like there was a lot that leads into what's going to be happening down the road, and a lot for Thor's character to go through. I think that's a lot of the purpose of it as well. But as far as the actual story going on, and this is one of the few complaints I've heard that I think I can agree with, is how it doesn't really raise the stakes for anything. It's such its own kind of contained story that Thor won't really be too affected as a character going forward. I mean, it did some stuff, like I said, but overall, I don't think he's affected maybe enough, because it was just this quiet, but it was just this little, the race of dark
in the world
elves.
of Thor, a quiet battle.
Yeah, exactly. It was like this. It's a one and done battle, and it's everyone's here, and then they're gone, and now it's over.
It felt not as filler as Iron Man 2 did, but it definitely felt like a. Well, meanwhile, after the Avengers, here's what's happening to Thor.
Yeah, meanwhile,
this is changes to Thor, not as a character, but in his personal life, obviously, with the family and stuff. But
which was important, especially with him and Loki.
Yes,
again.
Big time. And the ending leaves you wondering what's
Great
going
ending.
to go on. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Definitely.
My thing is, I agree with you, and I agree with the critics. It didn't seem like Iron Man 3 where there was this, wow, is this the end of him? Mm-hmm. But it definitely wasn't a ho-hum effort at all.
Yeah,
it just felt like, meanwhile, in Asgard.
Yeah, this is happening, and this may come up later down the road in another movie.
Exactly.
And I actually I never thought about this. I liked your comparison to Iron Man 2, which I actually liked Iron Man 2 for what it was. It was still a great Iron Man movie, but it really was kind of purely filler now that I really think about it.
Yeah.
And that was the beauty of Iron Man 3, is it was handled so perfectly, because that movie meant so much to Tony Stark as a man.
Right.
And not as much of that happens here. Some of it with the family, actually a lot of it with the family stuff, like you said, but overall, not to that degree. So it was kind of like the lesser effort of what Iron Man 3 accomplished.
Right.
But still, I think that this is the challenge, and tell me if you agree with all the Phase 2 stuff, is before we were building to the Avengers, and that was really exciting, and all these movies had these origin stories to tell, and it was cool to connect the dots. Now we're post-Avengers, and we're slowly building towards Avengers 2. So I feel like there's a lot more that needs to be happening in these films to the characters and to their respective universes.
Right.
You know, it's more than just a straightforward, I'm Thor, I'm going to do some stuff, and eventually you'll see me later. Like, there's a lot of different elements that need to come in and sort of affect the story to lead up to now a second Avengers movie. So the question to you, I guess, is how do you think it fits within the realm of everything Phase 2 is trying to do?
I'm glad that it's not going dark with every single movie.
I agree. Especially after Iron Man 3, because that was hard to watch.
And so many superhero movies try and feel with the sequel, when they do get a sequel, that it needs to be dark and needs to be more death and stuff. And I'm glad, as much as we just said this has felt like a continuation, it still explained like what's going on. It sets up for possibly Avengers 3 even.
Yeah, which we need to get it. I really want to hear your thoughts on that.
But I felt as far as the rest of the universe, I'm glad that there's no downplaying it and trying to use my English here and it's failing.
English grammar.
Exactly. I felt good knowing they're not going to panhandle to you and give you another
like they're not going to hold
story,
back,
and they're not going to sit there and new viewers need. They're like, if you've watched all these, let's go. You'll get little hints at stuff like this and stuff like that.
I agree. I think it's good that they sort of just throw you right into it. It really feels like the beginning of the film, especially when they're walking Loki in chains. It was like, man, I just watched Avengers, and this is like, it's like Avengers was almost still going.
Yeah.
Mostly for the beginning. The whole film didn't really feel that way, but I agree with you. It really felt like you're just watching the next chapter, more so than even what Iron Man 3 did. Iron Man 3 felt separate from Avengers a little bit.
Exactly.
I think.
Iron Man 3, it was more.
It was a better movie, but it felt more distant from the Avengers stuff than Thor did. Thor felt way more relevant to the Avengers.
I agreed. And I can't help wonder, I just thought about this. I wonder if Thor Dark World took place right after the Avengers.
So do you think that would make it even before Iron Man 3 chronologically?
If not during, yeah. Because they brought him in with chains, and they took him in chains in the Avengers.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I can't imagine there's like years and years and years of him just walking
even
around
months.
in chains.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be literally they took off at the end of Avengers before the credits rolled.
Yeah.
And then Thor 2, Thor the Dark World just picks right up.
That's what I'm thinking. So
that's really neat. It would have been neat to watch. Some movie theaters were doing this where they were doing the Thor marathon of Thor, the Avengers, then Thor 2.
Right.
It would be pretty neat to watch those, I think, all consecutively.
I think so. I would wonder if I missed something.
Yeah. So I guess the last big question we'll get to, and before we kind of just discuss our ultimate thoughts, obviously, again, it's Phase 2, so we're building to Avengers 2. There's a lot happening. There's 2 more films in Phase 2. Captain America's next summer. Guardians of the Galaxy
Can't wait for that one.
That's going to be really exciting, man. The buzz is so positive on that right now. And the Captain America 2 trailer, by the way, which I did watch last night.
Oh, good.
Unbelievable.
The worst kept secret villain ever.
Yeah, for sure.
If you've watched the movie, you've seen him.
Yeah.
If you've read the comics, it's in the damn title.
Yeah. So that's okay. It's
oh yeah.
There's nothing wrong with expecting it. And at least the movie looks really good.
Oh, absolutely.
But so my question is based specifically on Thor: The Dark World. We discussed this at length last night, so you should retread some of that stuff and what you think a lot of this means, including the post-credit stuff. Feel free to spoil that.
Okay.
Leading into Avengers 2 and your Avengers 3 stuff too.
I felt there were 2 endings. One was kind of funny with the what was
Bill
it?
Schneip.
Yep, running around. I wish Hulk was chasing him at the end.
I know, right?
I thought that would have been so good.
I have to say to the internet, I called that before they showed in the post credits. I was like, that Bill Schneip is still on Earth, man. I just said it as a funny joke. I was like, it's still there.
My girlfriend said the same thing. She's like, what happened to the big monster from the Iceland? I'm like, I think he's still in London.
Yeah, I said that as the credits were rolling. I was like, that Bill Schneip, and then sure enough, he showed up, and I felt good about that. So anyway,
if you're still here, bigger spoiler coming up.
Yeah,
the end credit scene has Sif and Volstagg bringing the ether, which has apparently been compressed into an infinity gem, to Benicio del Toro's character, the Collector. And the Collector is more of a C-list character in Marvel. He's never had his own comic or big story arc. He's this big... Well, he's the Collector. He has all kinds of knickknacks and stuff from Earth and space and other universes.
It's a great concept.
Oh, it's an amazing concept.
It feels like a thrift shop for like the supernatural stuff, kind of.
And it had a sinister tone to it because he was very, very shady acting. And they cut to that alien girl that just looked sad, like one of those puppies in the window.
That was almost awkward, like uncomfortable. I was like, who are these girls? Don't look very happy.
No, I don't know. You can't wonder, are they with him? Or are they kept there? Or...
Who knows?
But the great line is he takes it and they leave. And you can tell this guy's up to no damn good. Is he looks at it, smiles, and goes 1 down, 4 to go.
Yeah, or I think 5 to go. Didn't you say 5? Or I mean, how many are there? I don't know. If
5.
So it must have been 4 to go.
Yeah, the Infinity Gauntlet.
Never mind
5.
me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
But the one down, 5 to go, and they've indicated Thanos is going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy in one aspect or another, and I think it's going to lead up to, and I've said it on Rule of Two review, my theory is that it will be a very watered down version of the Infinity Gauntlet story. I don't think they're going to include all of the space characters. It would be a budget that the national deficit would be smaller than the budget this movie would need to
I
be
would
made.
totally believe it.
But I think it's leading up to that, and I think the Guardians are going to be a big part of it. And my theory is that they're going to end with them coming to Earth, being like, "You guys, Thanos is coming. It's all hell's about to break loose."
So who is them? What do you mean by them? Like
the Guardians,
Thor and everybody? The Guardians. Okay, yeah.
Because I think they're gonna
To warn the Avengers.
Yeah, I think they have an Infinity Gem with them.
Okay.
Because they keep making a tagline about, a ragtag bunch of space guys that have something the entire universe wants. I can't imagine it's an In-N-Out burger. I'm sure it's probably an Infinity Gem.
I feel like In-N-Out burger is entirely possible.
I'd chase them for a double-double.
I think a lot of people would. So, that's an interesting theory. What do you think, more specifically to how these events could impact Avengers 2 specifically?
I think, and this is what I think with Ultron.
Basically, what do you think Avengers 2 will really do based on what we've seen here?
I think they're going to see all hell breaking loose with the Mandarin, or their version of
Which they've just said they're redoing the Mandarin.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
There's going to be an actual Mandarin. That's going to be fun.
Very exciting.
I think the government or more of the government than S.H.I.E.L.D., I think the government's going to get really sick and tired of these, mass destruction events going on, like the ship landing in London and all hell. London didn't get destroyed like Metropolis didn't.
But it was a big deal.
They took a few knocks.
That was a big
absolutely.
deal. It was very huge.
And then there's the whole terrorism aspect from Iron Man 3 with the Mandarin and Aldrin Kilrich. And I don't know what's going to happen with Captain America 2, but they show in the trailer the whole helicarrier.
Yeah, it totally destroyed. Totally
coming down on the memorials and stuff. I imagine.
Interesting. Yeah, you're bringing up good points I never thought of.
My theory is with Avengers 2, I have kind of a split here, but I'm leaning more towards, I think the government will build Ultron as a we don't need you superhero types, General Ross attitude of, well, you're just a big superhero liability. Mm-hmm. And they'll build Ultron, and they'll have Ultron saves the cat in the tree, Ultron stops world problems, and then it's going to become
He's this great poster child for how we don't need superheroes.
Oh, yeah, like OCP to RoboCop in the beginning. They have the best of intentions.
Yeah.
And then obviously we know Ultron will become sentient, whether it's Jarvis or something. I think that's what's going to happen is the government will build Ultron does good, then turns bad, and it's like, oh, shit, we do actually need the Avengers. Big showdown in New York between all of them and Ultron.
Okay, so does this mean that you're not falling in line with most people who think Tony Stark becomes the man who builds Ultron?
I think he does. I think he has that might be the drama of it.
That would be quite dramatic.
Have you seen the fan trailer, or not the fan trailer, but the sneak trailer of Avengers 2 from Comic-Con?
No, I saw just a few. Oh, yes, I did with the helmet. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
And you see the helmet start molding and
you showed me that actually. Yeah, you were the guy.
I always show trailers.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
really
a good man.
bad about
You're a
that.
good man to know.
But though I think what's going to happen is at the end of Iron Man 3, he got done being Iron Man. But he said, he wants to save people. It's like how many people have to die on the front lines and stuff like that. So I'll bet you not being Iron Man, uses his technology to build Ultron. Ultron eventually turns bad, and now I've got to face Ultron. I've done this a little more angst, but I think that's where the drama could come from. Is I tried to not be a superhero, and I ended up creating this incredible villain.
The actual tangible drama has to come from Tony Stark. I think that's what Iron Man 3 really showed us. Is that's where I think a lot of the the viable heart within these films, more than just like the candy of all these superheroes fighting and special effects and explosions.
Right.
I think like the actual, again, like I said, tangible drama kind of comes from where his arc is going.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
so
especially
I think
with Avengers and that be
big
the man
time
that you were destined to be, kind of a thing, and stepping into a leadership role. Definitely agree with you on that.
He seems to be the character that they've spent the most time developing. The human side of him away from being a superhero.
Agreed. And I think the other characters would be almost derivative to make them more of the forefront, because Captain America's story is a little too bleak, and I think they're going to address that in Captain America 2. Is I've been gone for so long, and they said Sharon Carter's going to be in it, Peggy Carter's daughter. That's going to be an interesting. I hope they don't do the creepy thing in the comics,
which is what
he ends up bagging. Okay. So you've bagged 2 generations of Carters. It's kind of
I don't know
creepy Pornhub mother-daughter.
I would allow it. I mean, hey, it's Cap. What are you going to do?
Indeed.
I mean, hey. But so here's a final question then: is So you also have a theory, expanding upon this theory for Avengers 2 that leads into Avengers 3,
Right.
based on Loki and a lot of the things we saw happen in Thor 2, which, again, we're doing spoilers. They tease you with Loki's death, as I'm sure a lot of people know by the time you listen to this. But, of course, it turns out he's not dead at the end. Great reveal. Really, really cool ending. So expand on your Avengers 3 thing, and then we'll kind of wrap up.
Loki was used by Thanos in Avengers to bring the Chitauri and take over Earth. That was kind of Thanos' I'll give you all this stuff. Big intergalactic loan to Loki.
Yeah.
And he failed. But he never had to face Thanos for it. And I'm wondering if Thanos realizes, and somehow maybe Guardians of the Galaxy bring one of the Infinity Gems to Earth. Something's going to bring Thanos to Earth. And I can't help but think that it's going to be Loki that either is like, look, I'll make it up to you. Here's Earth. Come and get it. Or one of those, like, you get one last chance. Where is everything I need?
I feel like it would have to be the let me make it up to you thing. I mean, who would Thanos? Thanos, I think, would lose a lot of his evilness and his intimidation if he was like, one last chance, puny man.
Yeah.
As opposed to, I'm going to destroy you. And Loki's like, no, wait. Look, here's Earth. You know, and then he's like, oh, okay. And,
I know where the Infinity Gems are. You can be the most powerful.
Obviously, that's
using
the
his
thing.
skills of manipulation to be like, look, if you have the Infinity Gauntlet,
Which he's good at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can rule all. Here, take these guys out, which helps him. And then there you go.
So how does that relate to what you think might happen in Guardians of the Galaxy? I don't mean to keep going back and forth, but this is why I want your knowledge to help explain to people,
I'm not totally familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy. They just recently rebooted it for the movie with more of the movie-centric characters.
Okay, interesting.
Iron Man's a member in the comics as well. But the old 60s one never really tied into anything. It was just the space adventures of this kooky cruise.
Okay.
Think like Firefly, but with a giant tree.
Okay.
As a character.
Fair enough. Groot, who is voiced by Vin Diesel.
And has the easiest lines ever.
Yeah. I am Groot.
And that's it.
I feel like they're going to change that somehow.
I hope so, because if he makes that much more money than I will in my lifetime by saying, I am Groot,
it's a sad world we live in. It's a sad world.
I think the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to be the catalyst that starts, not Avengers 2, but I think Guardians of the Galaxy will have very little effect on Avengers 2, but more Phase 3.
Okay, I can see that based on what what you're telling me now. Do you think they will not be present at all in Avengers 2? I would think they'd have to be.
They haven't been said they're in there. And I actually have kind of a weird theory. I think they're all going to die. I think if you want to really show how much of a badass and a hardcore threat Thanos is, wipe them out.
Damn, I really like that theory, and I would agree. Actually, that's
sequel,
drama.
There's no sequel confirmed. None of the actors have said, "Well, when we're going to film this, and this." There's no mention of them in Avengers 2. So unless maybe they get away and show up in Avengers 3 for a big showdown, I think they may all be wiped out.
How ballsy would that be? And I think in a good way. I think as much as obviously we're going to like these characters and not want them to die.
Right.
For the overarching drama of everything this universe is doing, I think that would be very, very ballsy.
Because nobody's killed any of the main characters.
It's true. And we know it's going to at some point someone's going to have to go.
Joss Whedon is going to kill somebody.
Yeah, he will.
It just happens. But I think they're going to wipe them out. Or they get away and we never see them again, which would be really
I think they almost should die. Yeah, and they almost should die.
There should be a sense of, oh, crap, this guy means business.
Or what if most of them die and one or two survive and they have implications down there? I mean, that would be kind of cool.
Something like they warn them, like Thanos is coming, and they're aware of it, but don't know what the deal is. And he arrives, big showdown.
Man. That's exciting. I really like. I like how your theories and your knowledge is able to take us not only to Avengers 2 but Avengers 3. That was what was really exciting when we were doing our little post movie circle last night and discussing everything we just saw. That was really cool. So I'm glad you're able to touch on that stuff. So ultimately, let's just get down to it. I mean, your final thoughts on Thor: The Dark World?
I gave it a solid A.
Okay. Wow. Awesome.
I was A plus would be like Avengers or Iron Man 1. I thought Natalie Portman's character was grating. I thought the action was excellent. The story was really good. There were great twists in it. Mm-hmm. And it was a great continuation of what's happening with our Asgardian buddy.
Yeah.
And it's a great step in Phase 2, and I am beyond stoked for Winter Soldier.
Yeah, well, that really looks like something special.
That's going to be epic.
I agree. It definitely it moved a lot of, I think, the right stuff forward, especially because it plays so heavily into the Infinity Gauntlet, which of course plays heavily into Thanos. So I feel like even though for the Thor actual thread line, it does just okay. It has a bigger impact on the larger story at hand, and I think that's why it mostly works. And Thor, Chris Hemsworth and Thor,
Oh yeah.
You know, he's a really charming actor. He pulls off Thor. The universe is well done. I mean, Anthony Hopkins killed it as Odin in this one, I think.
Of course.
And you're right. A lot of twists. There were some deaths we expected that didn't happen, and there were some unexpected deaths that did happen.
And then there were some unexpected deaths that didn't happen.
Yeah, it was crazy how much that was really true.
Oh,
so, yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. I really liked it as well. I think that I preferred the first one.
Me
and
too.
That's what I keep going back and forth. So you're on the same page. Yeah, I think the first one was a little bit better. More solid, complete story. But yeah, I don't know if I'd give it an A. B plus, you know.
I could be
B+.
persuaded to do B plus.
Yeah.
It definitely wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah, you leave it where you. I mean, it was great. So an A is totally acceptable too.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it was what it was. But yeah. So cool, man. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely, happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your knowledge. It's good to have you back.
We'll see you after Winter Soldier, maybe.
There is a definite there. We're definitely going to do that. So yeah, and thanks everyone for listening. Definitely share your thoughts if you've seen the movie. If you haven't, what you think, what you thought about Evan's fantastic, expansive knowledge.
Please be nice. I have a very, very bad sense of self-worth.
That's true. He's the least confident man I've ever known.
What is that supposed to mean?
6'6". So yeah, definitely let us know what you think, and if you think Evan's theories hold any water, which I think they do. I don't know as much as most people do, but I think they do. So.
And I like to think I know more than most, so we'll see.
So. You're a talented chap. So yeah, thanks for listening. Subscribe to the video, and we will catch you guys next time.